Hello everyone. Today we're going to be talking about the story behind this shocking picture. In my Baby Totu video, I spoke about the case of Ryker Webb, who also had a hauntingly void look on his face after being missing and found after 2 days. So I thought we would take a little mini dive into his case today. 3-year-old Ryker Webb was from Troy, Montana, a small town in northern Montana near the Idaho border. The town is surrounded by wilderness and mountains, and it's absolutely beautiful. And this is where the cute little blue-eyed, red-haired toddler grew up with his parents, older sister, and older brother. However, on June 3rd of 2022, the beautiful wilderness would turn into a nightmare when little Ryker would go missing. The story goes that on that Friday afternoon, Ryker, his father, and the family dog were playing in their backyard near the woods. His father needed to go inside for a moment, and when he returned, Ryker was nowhere to be found. They concluded that either Ryker followed the dog into the woods and then he got lost, or he was out there looking for bugs on the trails. Either way, Ryker was lost. His father searched and searched, going through neighbors' backyards, but he still couldn't find his son. Now, I read it was actually a neighbor who ended up calling 911 around 4:53 p.m., and it wasn't actually the family that called 911, which is a whole mess in this case. And when authorities arrived, they were skeptical to how the parents neglected to call 911 when their son had been missing for nearly 2 hours. Nearly 50 people would arrive and begin to comb the woods for the little boy. That night, severe thunderstorms hit the area and the temperatures dropped to the near 40s. There were also mountain lions and bears in the area that could easily make a snack out of a little 3-year-old toddler. But Ryker was not found the first night. On Saturday, the Montana Air National Guard helicopters joined the search along with drones, dog teams, and ATVs. And according to authorities, the initial description that parents gave to them was actually inaccurate, which I'm not sure how you would mess up one of the most important details like that. But in reality, Ryker was out there in the woods alone in only a blue pajama onesie with trucks on it, and he had no shoes on. Everything was against this little boy, just like in the case of the missing child, Dennis Martin, that I covered. But the next day, on Sunday, June 5th, a family was checking on their cabin when they heard a noise. Sheriff Darren Short saying, and I quote, "They heard a little boy's voice from the shed out back where they keep the generator. So they went to the shed, and there he was," end quote. Ryker had actually gone inside of this log structure, and inside he ended up finding a grass catcher bag that people use for lawnmowers, and he ended up using that as a sleeping bag, which is incredibly smart for a toddler. The family would end up calling the police, and Sheriff Short would arrive on the scene shortly after. It would turn out that Ryker would be found 2.5 miles from his home, and authorities would believe that Ryker had actually walked those 2.5 miles on the first night he went missing before the thunderstorm hit. And according to officers, Ryker was noticeably shaken. He was also bruised, hungry, and dehydrated. The officer saying, and I quote, "He had the wide-eyed, scared look until he got back to his mom and dad," end quote. Officers would also find his handprints on the glass of the cabin windows, which meant that little Ryker was most likely putting his hands up to the windows, trying to look inside for help, but no one had been there. So that's when he ended up going to the shed for warmth. The little boy would then be placed inside of an ambulance, and that is where we get this haunting photo. A photo that would go absolutely viral online. And it's the same photo that I compared to Totu's look. But keep in mind, Ryker had just survived 2 days in the elements with no food, no water, and essentially no shelter besides this cabin that he eventually found. Meanwhile, Totu allegedly had been taken care of by a family and medical team. So how could they have the same 1,000-yard stare when Totu allegedly didn't suffer any trauma, but Ryker had? It's definitely very odd. But this photo of Ryker actually sparked a lot of speculation on social media, some going as far to say that it actually wasn't Ryker in the photo, but a skinwalker that had basically taken over his body or was basically posing as Ryker. The theories really got out of hand at one point. In my opinion, it's just the photo of a little boy had went through a lot in the last 48 hours. 2 days must have felt like an eternity to him, all alone and cold and thirsty. Now here's the thing. When Ryker ended up going missing, there was a lot of speculation onto how he did go missing and to why the parents took so long to actually report him missing. This led the officers to investigate why he wasn't being watched so closely and why it took so long for that report to be made, and it was actually apparently a neighbor who made it. There was also discussions on how his age was originally reported as 4 years old when he was actually 3 years old, and how the parents couldn't remember what he was wearing.
So there's an extensive trail system behind his house, and he was used to playing in that trail system. So he just walked away from his house and went to the familiar place that he usually played in, is the trail system up toward the mountain.
But if he was just hanging out on the open trails, how did it take 2 days? I mean, I would think you could fan a bunch of people out on those trails. His little legs won't take him too far, and find him so quickly.
So one of the issues was we got the initial report about 4:53 in the afternoon, and he had been missing for possibly 2 hours or more at that time.
Now, as far as I could see, there was nothing to conclude what happened with that investigation, and from everything I can see, Ryker is still with his family. Either way, at the end of the day, this is a case with a happy ending. Not a lot of cases turn out like this. Now, I did find some more recent photos of Ryker, and they were on his father's Facebook, and I found some videos that his brother made on TikTok, and he looks to be happier than ever. But I did want to play for you the video that his brother made on TikTok where he's asking little Ryker to tell his side of the story.
Keep asking about what happened. Ryker, do you remember when you got lost?
Mm-hmm.
What do you see?
I see a house.
A house? In the woods?
Yeah. So I can live and then I can live in,
Someone lived in the house?
yeah.
I'm sorry that happened to you, bro. That was scary.
So either way, in the end, I'm glad it looks like little Ryker is resilient after what happened to him. And again, finally, we can talk about a happy ending. With that, I want to know how you all feel about this case and the story, especially the comparison to how Ryker looked and how little Totu looked. So let's have a chat about them down below. If there are any videos that you want me to cover or look into, let me know as well, and I will do my best to look into them. If you're not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. And as always, I hope you all stay safe out there, lock your windows and doors, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.